and MakeThePointRadio.com.
It's time for Success in Real Estate with Frankie Griffin, owner and broker in charge of the Palmetto Success Team, certified residential specialist, accredited buyer representative, military relocation professional, real estate appraiser, and author of Success in Real Estate. If you are interested in buying or selling a home, investing in real estate, or having your home appraised, you will enjoy Success in Real Estate. Now, here's Frankie Griffin.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Success in Real Estate. I'm Frankie Griffin, broker in charge and appraiser. Thank you for joining us this morning. Got a great show lined up for you today, something that I have been wanting to talk about for an awful long time. Finally got my experts in class, and here's what in class. In studio. Sometimes I forget, am I at the school or am I at the radio? But it'll be okay. It'll be all right. Brian, it is okay, isn't it? Okay. Brian said we're fine, so we're good. But in studio with me, I've got Roger and Brandon Caldwell with Caldwell Inc. And what we're going to be talking about today, primarily anyway, are living trust, and maybe even get into some wills and what the difference between a will and a living trust would be. Because I just got to tell you, and I've seen this so many times out there working with buyers and sellers, especially sellers, where I get a call, and seller interested in selling a home that they've inherited. And then I find out that they are not the sole owner. They are, and Roger, this is something we actually kind of touched on a little bit yesterday, but I find out that there's one or two other siblings that also own interest in the property. It was inherited that way. And then I asked, well, okay, so your sister owns part of it. Well, where's your sister, and is she okay selling the house? Well, Frankie, that's sort of one of the things I wanted to talk to you about. No, she's not on board with that. In fact, she's just, that was Mama's house, and she's not willing to sell Mama's house, and I don't want to go over there. I can't I can't deal with the paint going over there anymore. I just want to sell it, split the money, but there's nothing I can do. If you both don't agree, then there's nothing I can do. And where it really gets sad is where you've got two siblings that actually, love each other. Now all of a sudden, this house tears them apart. Yeah. They won't speak to each other. They don't talk to each other. And a lot of this is due, not that Mama certainly didn't intend anything like that to happen, but it's just a lot to do with a lack of planning. And I guess that's why they call it estate planning. We need to do some planning. So, again, in studio, I've got Roger Caldwell and his son, Brandon Caldwell, which deal with this kind of stuff all day long, every day. And if you have any questions or any comments you have for Roger or Brandon, give us a call. The number in studio is 799-8255. Again, 799-8255. Well, Roger, let me just start with you. But, and I've heard people talk about living trust. Yeah. But what is a living trust? And maybe is there a difference between a living trust and, say, a will?
Yes, Frankie. Actually, a living trust is a document that's been around probably since about the 15th century. And it's a way that people can have their assets inside of that trust, and it can avoid probate. And one of the more important things, it can make sure that your estate will go the way you want it. We can't fix people problems, but we can fix estate problems.
Yeah.
And when people say, well, I've got a will, and I said, you know what they say about that? They say, where there's a will, there's a relative. Yeah. And about a third of wills are successfully overturned in any given year. And I think of something an older gentleman told me years ago, and he said, when it comes to land and money, people are funny.
You're right.
And I start my 33rd year in doing this tomorrow.
Well,
I started August the 1st, 1983. And I didn't start out with the living trust, but the business has kind of evolved, and I've had situations where people didn't have their affairs in order. And I think of a lady I recently met who's 75, who's battling with 2 stepchildren and losing a lot of sleep, and has hired 2 different attorneys to kind of help in the state. And she said, her words, my husband will has been a nightmare. But a living trust is a way to have a document in place that not if you die, but when you die, that your affairs are handled the way you want them to be handled.
So so if I have a will, which I do, I've got a will, but do I need a living trust?
Well, without sitting down with you and looking at your situation, there's a lot of misinformation out there. There are different types of trust. They do different things. A living trust is technically known as a revocable trust. It is changeable. As long as you're living, you can make changes to that trust as your life change and everything. But if their desire, and let's just say they say, I've accumulated a estate, and it doesn't have to be a large estate, but I've got some kids that may not get along when I pass away, or I've got some kids that will not get along when I pass away. Well, you can't solve the kids' problem of not getting along, but you can set up your affairs so it'll be done the way you want it to be done. I just recently did one with a single man, and he said, I have such peace of mind knowing that I have my affairs in order, that when I leave here, things will be done the way I want, and it's in order, because we set up the trust, and it's in order, it's in a booklet, and everybody will know exactly where that is and all the pieces, how they fit together.
Well, one of the things that, in fact, Brandon got your real estate license here.
I did, yes.
Recently.
And was very pleased with the Realty School for Success.
And, the instructor was awesome.
He was okay, but Ron was awesome this week.
Yeah. Not that class, the other class.
You owe me for that one, Ron.
But, one of the things, and Brandon, you probably heard me talk about this in the class, but, what I would like to see, what makes sense to me, and in fact, I told my mom this when she was trying to set up her will and whatnot. I told her point blank, I said, don't just leave me and my brothers anything. Leave you do what you want to do, but then also put in there, what do you want us to do with it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you want it to be kept and used for family, or I'm talking about house, but do you want us to keep the house and use it as family reunions, or rent it out, or do you want us to sell it and split the money? Because if you leave it up to the siblings, they're not going to agree.
That's exactly right.
On what to do.
Kids normally can't agree on a piece of pie, much less in this day.
Well, we're about out of time in this first segment, and I got just so many questions here, and I've got, you say 33 years.
I'm starting my 33rd year tomorrow.
Oh, well, then you don't quite know.
I've only got 32. The older I get, the less I know.
Another day you'll know it all. All right. But we got a lot of questions for you, and want to hear from you if you have any questions. Number to call is 799-8255. Again, 799-8255. You're listening to Success in Real Estate on The Point.
Columbia's local talk radio experience. This is The Point. 95.9 FM and 1470 AM.
And now, the Mortgage Update with Erica Hill West on Success in Real Estate.
Hi, good morning again. Welcome back to Success in Real Estate. I'm Frankie Griffin, real estate broker in charge and appraiser, and we do have our mortgage go-to gal, Miss Erica Hill West, on the line. How you doing, Miss Erica?
I'm doing well. And yourself, Frankie?
Oh, it's such a fine day today.
It is, because it's Friday, and tomorrow I leave to go to the beach.
What?
I know. Well, it's so funny. Someone's like, well, you are on vacation. I was like, let me just make this clear. Having a baby is not a vacation. But it's not a vacation. This is my first vacation of the year.
Man,
I thought that was funny. I was like, no, I didn't take any time off. But...
Well, my concern is, what am I going to do with you gone?
Oh, I'm still working.
Oh.
But I'll be working beachside. So, and I always have my business partner, Ned Hill, and I have my assistant, Leslie Biddle, and things will keep trucking along as normal.
Well, when you coming back?
Saturday.
So we got a whole week to stress.
No stress.
Well, if you're not here, I'm going to stress. I'm just
No.
I'm just saying.
I still work. I mean, that's the thing. You know how real estate and lending is. Even when you're on, out of your city and out of the office, you're still working. You're still returning emails and answering phone calls and pulling credit and all that kind of fun stuff.
Well, I tell you, we class missed you yesterday. You didn't get to come talk to the class. In fact, one of the students is in studio with me today, Brandon Caldwell. And the main reason he took the class was to hear what you had to say.
I didn't even get a message to come. I'm sorry.
Frank,
I would have come.
Frankie's telling the story now. Don't worry about him.
I was like, I would have come. I'm so sorry.
No, it's all good. But we lift you up so high, and then you didn't show up. So it was. But no, I'm just messing with you. It's been so busy here lately, and we keep saying that, and thank God. I mean, this is, and I'm very thankful to be this busy. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, it's good. And are the rates still just staying where they are?
Yes.
What, 3.5?
Rates, yes. We're seeing conventional 30-year conventional rates 3.99, government rates 3.75, 3.875. I mean, we're seeing really, really strong rates. I mean, really competitive rates. People that are still out there on the fringe and are looking to move. I would really highly suggest taking the next couple weeks and making it a priority to find a house and get things in order, especially before October 3rd hits with those new regulations. I cannot say it enough. If people can kind of avoid that, if they can make a move in the next couple of months before that happens, it will just be easier on themselves.
Yeah. And it's a lot of changes, but are you feeling better about the new criteria, the new requirements? I mean, is it sinking in now?
The things, I mean, there's only so much that we know. I mean, I've gotten my hands and my eyes on the new closing disclosure and the new loan estimate, which is going to be the combined GSE and TIL. And I'm familiarizing myself with those, and I'm feeling confident with those. The things that I'm not confident with is that because we've never done it before, I feel like the first 60 to 90 days, everybody's going to be watching each other.
Yeah.
And it's the unknown that kind of makes me a little bit uneasy. We're not going to be able to, I think at least in the first, 2 to 3 months, quick 30-day closes are probably going to be very difficult just because there are so many new requirements with having that closing disclosure so many days before closing. That's going to be new, especially, I keep telling people, it's not just the lenders and the attorneys that have to be on par and have everything done in a timely manner. It's also inspections and termite letters.
Yeah.
And, those types of things that we're used to doing when something comes up last minute, like a termite letter, and then, it's 3 days of closing and the termite letter's not clear. We're still able to get those things cleared and have a termite letter the day of closing and still close at 2 o'clock. That is not going to be the case after October 3rd. And let me tell people, it's loans that are started after October 3rd. It's not loans closing after October 3rd. So if you start a loan in a transaction in September to close in October, you're not going to be subject to those new rules. But any loan that starts after October 3rd, those people are going to be subject to all those new regulations.
Okay. Well, and I just got to tell you, and I kind of cringe anyway when I have somebody looking at buying a house, and when they go to borrow the money, they're using a lender, an online lender, or they're out of town, out of state, but they're not here. And I got to tell, and we've had problems with that even before the new requirements come into play. And I think now more than ever, if you're borrowing money to buy a house, your loan officer needs to be somebody you can reach out and touch.
Yes.
If things start going haywire, and they will. I mean, it happens. But that's why we have Erica, so we don't have to worry about it.
That's what I try to tell people, when you're looking at a mortgage transaction, your interest rate is definitely a priority, but you need to feel confident with who you're doing business with because it's going to be a stressful process.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I tell everybody, it's not just that you're dealing with getting a mortgage. You're trying to pack up a house. You're trying to do inspections. And you're trying to live your daily life. And if things come up at the last minute, which sometimes they really do, there are things that, we don't get title work until 3 days before closing, and there's title issues.
Yeah.
You need to be doing business with people with not just lenders that you know, but attorneys too.
Sure.
That you can reach out and touch and can pick up the phone and get somebody. That's really, really important, especially just for peace of mind. That's really what you want. Somebody that especially agents, make sure that you're doing business with lenders that you know where they are.
Yeah, and I can tell, as an agent, it's just so comforting to know I can just give somebody your name and number, and I don't have to worry about it anymore, not the financial part, and that is so comforting. Well, how can we get in touch with you, my dear?
You can always reach me on my cell phone. It's 803-528-5019. You can email me at ewest@mortgagenetwork.com, or you can search me on Facebook. Just search for the Mortgage Go-To Gal, and please like my page and leave any comments or questions that you have, and I will get back to you as soon as possible.
Thank you so much, Eric. Hope you have a great weekend and have a great trip, too.
Thank you.
All righty.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Again, that was Erica Hill West, our Mortgage Go-To Gal, and she kind of talked a little bit like an auctioneer there, giving out her phone number stuff. But if you couldn't write that down, maybe you're riding through town or whatever, you can always go to my website, frankiegriffin.com. Just click on Real Estate Partners, and there you'll find all our real estate partners there with their contact information, their websites, their phone numbers, everything they have be right there. Again, just go to frankiegriffin.com and click on Real Estate Partners, and you can find all their contact information. And also, you'll find on our Real Estate Partners page is Caldwell Incorporated with Roger and Brandon Caldwell that do living trusts. They also get involved with auctions, and we're out of time in this segment, but we're going to come right back and get into some more of this auction stuff. Be right back on Success in Real Estate on The Point.
WXL Philadelphia 924.
Good morning and welcome back to Success in Real Estate. I'm Frankie Griffin, real estate broker in charge and appraiser. Thank you for joining us today. Love to hear from you. If you have any questions or comments, really anything about, especially if you've got questions about estate planning, living trust, even a will. These are so important. And you know what? Well, I'm going to give you the number to call. Number to call is 799-8255. Again, 799-8255. And now, Roger, this is a lot of people think, well, I don't have a will or I don't own anything. Well, is that necessary? Do I need to own something to have a will? Or
well, people who say I don't own anything don't realize that they do own some things, and they have a will even if they don't have a will. The state has a will for you.
Yeah, there you go.
And so even if you're single, so let's say you're a kid out of college and you got a car and you hadn't bought your first house, you're still renting an apartment. Well, something has to be done to that car when you pass away. And I have a son who spent a year in Afghanistan back in 2010, and he was single, didn't have a vehicle, didn't have he had an older truck, but didn't have a house or anything, but they made all those guys make sure that they did their wills and did the powers of attorney and everything, make sure they've done before they left to go overseas, because that's a terrible time to be making decisions when somebody laying in a coma or something and trying to make a decision for them. So you don't have to have a large estate to have an estate. And Frankie, probably one of the best ways, somebody may be listening and say, well, what do these guys really do, and are they attorneys or whatever? No, we're not attorneys. We don't even play one in real life. But I'll give you a trip we'll take you on. Let's say we're going to go on your trip, and we're going all the way to California, and your vehicle, you're picking up tab, and you invited your 3 members of your team, and you invited your attorney, you invited your CPA, and you invited your planner to go with you. What do you think those 3 team members will be doing on that trip? Well, attorneys, a lot of time, no offense to any that might be listening, but they like to be in charge, so they'll be trying to drive your vehicle. They won't be behind the steering wheel. The CPA, they'll be looking out the back window, seeing what you did last week or last month or last year. But a good advisor will be cleaning the windshield off so you can see where you're going. And that's what we do.
Well, that's a really good analogy. I like that. I'm going to remember that.
He's got a bunch of them. Don't get him started.
Well, how do you bring up these 3? So how do they work together? Exactly what? So you say, all right, you're cleaning my windshield, make sure I know where I'm going, which that deals with what exactly?
Well, a lot of time we come into most people don't have an attorney that they utilize all the time. It's when they hit a problem or a snag, and they'll go see an attorney and say, well, I got this problem, how can you help me? And then most people either use H&R Block, or they either have a CPA. And just recently I had a lady come in, and she had received, her and her sister had received an inheritance after her stepmother died. The stepmother had lived 28 years after the father had died, and found out that this woman worked for H&R Block. And she'd been working for him about 15 years, but now she was in a situation with this inheritance, and that was outside the ordinary doing the income tax. So she had called me because she had a living trust that another advisor set up years ago, and he had passed away, and she called the company, and they referred it to me. And I said, well, I said, you need a good CPA to walk you through that minefield of what you need to do so you can pay the minimum amount of tax, because the father had died right before the stock market dropped in 1987. And to give you an idea, the S&P, it was at 2,000 then, it's at 18,000 now. So that's a pretty good gain in there.
You bet.
And so we met with a CPA. She came to town. They live in Spartanburg. They came to Columbia. And we sat down and went over things there. And she said, well, while we're here, do we need to review our trust? And even though it wasn't one that I wrote, I looked at the thing, and I don't give advice on that. We use an attorney. And when people have that, but I educate people. So if I come in and somebody's got some problems, I listen to what the problem. I have a little brochure I use. It's called A Personal Viewpoint, and I designed it years ago. And they just go through and check yes, no, it does not apply. It says, do you have a will? Do you think wills are important? And things like that. And it says, do you have advance directives? Who would make decisions if something were to happen to you as in a coma? And when you go through those kind of things before it happened, it's kind of like, and my son, when he was in Afghanistan, his job was disarming bombs.
Ooh.
And his mother said, why in the world would you volunteer for something like that? He said, Mama, in the military, you don't volunteer. And being a Vietnam vet, I understand that. But anyway, it's easier to disarm a potential problem on the front end than it is to put the pieces back together after it has exploded.
Good point.
And when family members, and a lot of people don't want to think about mortality. They don't want to think about, I won't always be here, I'm going to pass away. But I learned a long time ago, mortality is the same the world over. It's one per person per lifetime.
And 100% guarantee.
Yes, it is. And so we'll sit down with somebody, and then if they need an attorney to do some parts of their planning, we refer them to an attorney, or we'll say, do you have an attorney? If they've got one, then we'll sit down with them. Because sometimes they don't know the question they need to ask that attorney. And then if they need accounting work, and maybe they just had, no offense, a lot of people do H&R Block, but if they need more advanced information from a CPA or something, and if they don't have one, we'll refer them to a CPA, and they'll sit down and they'll look at that part of their situation, and we kind of put the pieces together for them.
And with this team approach, as you like to call it, in fact, we were having lunch yesterday, and you were actually explaining to me about a client that y'all were getting ready to ink everything.
Yes. Yeah.
And had to put the brakes on.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of interesting. The guy has been forced out of where he's worked for 35 years, and they gave him a little severance package, and we had met with him previously, and Brandon knew him well, and we talked about different ways we could do it, and he's looking for a safe place to put his money, and we had some products that could do that. We go into the situation talking about their problem, not about a product. Because I've learned over these 32 years, there's a lot of people who are product peddlers. Now, if somebody gets upset with that statement, they're probably a products peddler. But the second side is you got problem solver. And so if we can't solve your problem, we are not going to create a problem. And so in this case, everything was going forward. He'd called the company to see how do I receive my fund to do a direct rollover. And after we had already ordered the money, he said, and had never said this in any of the previous interviews, in 6 months, I want an income off of this. Well, we had to put the brakes on, and I said, I got to see if what we recommended, 2 choices, he made a choice, this may not be best for you. And I said, I'll go do some other research and get back to you.
Well, and that's what you're looking for, I would think, when you're paying someone to look after your interest. Even if we have to redo it, let's make it right, because we only get one shot at this.
That's right.
And but we're about out of time for our third segment, and in our last segment, we're going to kind of transition a little bit, where I want Brandon to sort of explain to me the auctioning process, because that's got a lot to do with estate planning also.
Yes, it does.
And which is a very interesting concept and idea on how to dispose of some things, how to liquidate some estates, I guess. But auctioning, that's going to be a very interesting discussion. Love to hear from you. 799-8255. You're listening to Success in Real Estate on The Point.
Is The Point 95.9 FM and 1470 AM.
All right, good morning again. Welcome back to Success in Real Estate. I'm Frankie Griffin, broker in charge and appraiser. Thank you for joining us this morning. Got our last segment here. And if you have any questions about living trust or estates, now's the time to call. Let's see, what is it? It's number 799-8255. 799-8255. And I know we've got a caller. Clarence is on the line. And Clarence, I'm going to come right to you here in just a second. But what I want to sort of talk about, and I think this is where Clarence wants to go too, but is the auctioning process. Now, Brandon, how does auction fit into trust or living trust and things of that nature?
The reason I came to the Real Estate School for Success was because I was given an opportunity. Jim Givens is the owner of Auctions United. They're headquartered out of Rome, Georgia. He's been doing business since 1979, and we specialize in the old family farm, old country sales is what Jim calls them, but either raw land or the old home place. And what we're seeing in rural America, and especially rural South Carolina, is the baby boomers have gotten older. I hate to break that to y'all, and Dad's a boomer, but y'all have, and you're inheriting
a young boomer.
You're inheriting land at a rapid rate. Mom and Dad's getting older. Men statistically die first, and we could talk for 2 hours about why that is. But mom's normally got the old home place. She's getting on up in years. There may be some health problems in the mix, or mom and dad have passed away, and 3 kids, 4 kids, 8 kids have been left undivided interest, 100 acres in Orangeburg, and they don't know what to do with it, or they've had it listed, had a sign sitting out there, and haven't been able to move it. What we do is we come in, if it can be divided, we check that out obviously with the local county, but we break it up into smaller tracts typically, and not a lot of people can afford 100 acres in Orangeburg, but they can afford 10 acres. And you never know, that draws more people to the sale, number one. Number two, if there was a will and it was older and there are any items, family items in dispute, normally it's, sorry ladies, it's an old china cabinet of mama's and 2 sisters. Forget the 100 acres. I want that china cabinet. And 3 Christmases ago, you heard her. We were all there. Mama said I could have it. Well, we can come in before the public auction and hold a family auction. And any items like that, if they're willing, if it's in dispute, we can have a family auction. We don't talk quite as fast at that family auction because it's just family there. But if you want to bid on Mama's china cabinet, you can. After the public auction, your winning bid for whatever item you wanted comes out of your share. You don't pay a dime out of pocket to get what you really wanted, and everybody was there. It was open and honest, and if you wanted it, there it was. Okay. We can also do that with a piece of land. This land's been in our family for 3 generations, and I don't want to get rid of every single. You can bid at the auction, any track, as many tracks as you want, and that winning bid comes out of your share that you'll get after the proceeds come in. You don't pay a dime. You get to keep a piece of mom and daddy's land.
Okay. Well, now that we kind of got an idea about the auction, let's go straight to our phone lines and talk to Clarence a little bit. How you doing, Clarence?
I'm good. How are you all?
Oh, this is such a fine day today. Thank you for calling in.
Isn't it? Yes, sir. I just wanted to say hello to Roger and Brandon, and to say that I've gotten to know these gentlemen over the past year or so, and speak about their honesty and their integrity, and them helping me and my wife and a portion of my family. Particularly on the auction side. Brandon is working very diligently in helping prepare for upcoming auction, and I would just like to say thank you for all that the two of you, Roger and Brandon, have done for me and going through this process. It's been extremely helpful, and just wanted to put a good plug in for you.
Well, that's very nice.
Thank you, Clarence.
I did not tell him to do that, but I will buy you lunch for saying that.
I'll take a chocolate cake.
Even better.
Well, Clint, let me ask you, say you've got an auction coming up?
Yes, it hasn't been
It's not scheduled yet, but it
scheduled yet.
soon to be announced. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And is that
Very soon.
where is this going to be?
It'll be in Lexington County.
Lexington County.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Is there somewhere we can, if somebody's listening, might be?
Of course, all of our upcoming auctions are put on auctionsunited.com. We actually have one coming up in Cross Hill, South Carolina, next Saturday, August 8th, and it's at 10 a.m. in Cross Hill. It's actually a family restaurant, and we're selling all the equipment. You can go on auctionsunited.com right now, look to see what's available. We actually have an open house up there tomorrow from 1 to 4. You can actually walk in and see what's for sale. Check it out.
Okay. Well, Clarence, thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you,
appreciate
Clarence.
the program.
All right. Hope you have a blessed day. And I just one last comment, and then there's something else I want to make sure you have time to talk about. But I got to tell you, in speaking of the integrity, because there are some that are not. I'm just going to, and that's my opinion. I think there are some auctioneers we got right around here that are not very ethical about what they're doing. Maybe it's legal, but in my mind, it's not ethical. Because I'm going to tell you, I got a friend of mine that actually did an online auction, and the auctioneer actually wound up buying most of the stuff for like a couple dollars. and then my friend found all their stuff in their where they were
At the
auctioning
auction
it for
house.
hundreds of dollars at their warehouse.
We don't have everything is sold as is where is on day of auction. We don't have any auction house.
Well,
like that.
and we've got a couple minutes, but I want you to talk about your nephew.
Yes, sir.
I think.
We have a special family thing coming up tomorrow, Saturday, August 1st. We have the second annual Owen Walker Caldwell Memorial 5K. You can still register to run our walk, and it will be in Lexington, held at Northside Baptist Church on 4347 Sunset Boulevard in Lexington off Highway 378 near I-20. My nephew passed away right at 2 years ago, and he died it was no illness. He just died in his sleep at 14 months of age. And his birthday was in August, and the family, his parents, my brother and his wife, they decided instead of sitting around and going through the emotions in that month, they were going to hold a 5K in his memory and in his honor. And what we're doing is we raise money. A portion of the proceeds go to Hands of Hope. It is the only hospice serving children in South Carolina, and it's a great organization. If you have all you have to do is go to Facebook and type in Sweet Baby O 5K, or you can go to runhard.org. I would like to plug, we're also having a seminar for Caldwell Inc., and it's August 25th, Tuesday, at the Lexington Chamber of Commerce. Contact us at Brandon@Caldwell Trust, or go to caldwelltrust.com, or give us a call at 724-1232 to learn more about that upcoming seminar.
Awesome. And if you missed that information, go to frankiegriffin.com, and I'll have all this information for you, the contact information, the 5K, everything you need to know about that we talked about in the show will be there. Thank you so much for listening this week. I hope you have a very safe, comfortable weekend. Be right back next week on Success in Real Estate.